Okay, so let's play a game of what if. Imagine a glitch in time, a tiny error in the fabric of history. It doesn't send back a Terminator or a DeLorean. No, it drops one single piece of 21st century technology into the past. And it's not a weapon. It's something way more subtle and, honestly, maybe way more disruptive. A modern espresso machine. We're going to drop it right into 1590s London and see what happens.
First, you've got to picture the world we're jumping into. We're talking muddy streets, hazy, cold-choked air, and the general vibe is just slow. It's sluggish. This isn't the bustling city we think of today. Everything and everyone is operating at a much lower frequency. And a huge reason for that? Well, it comes down to what everybody was drinking all day long.
You see, they had a pretty big problem back then. The water would kill you. It was basically toxic. So to stay hydrated, everyone, and I mean everyone from little kids to the elderly, drinks something called small beer. It had just enough alcohol in it to make it safe, but the side effect? An entire population living in a constant, low-grade, hazy fog. Think about that for a second.
And this really sets the stage for the chaos we're about to unleash. On one side, you have the reality of 1590s London. Sluggish, foggy, and, let's be honest, not very productive. And on the other side, the explosive potential of a high-octane caffeine hit. We're talking about a society going from 0 to 60, from hazy fog to laser-sharp clarity. So, how do we get there?
Okay, so, Section 1, the first impossible sip. We're going to zoom in on one little tavern, on one fateful day. This is where our time glitch hits, and it all starts with one man taking a chance on something he can't possibly understand.
Just try to imagine it. 1 minute, you've got a dusty corner with a couple of barrels. The next, bam! There's this gleaming chrome object humming with some kind of impossible energy. To the people in that tavern, it wouldn't even register as a machine. It would look like some kind of magic, alchemy, like a chunk of a star just fell through the roof.
I mean, the sheer mismatch here is just mind-boggling. We're talking a technological gap of something like 23,000 to 1. These are people who think plagues are caused by bad air, and they are suddenly face-to-face with precision thermodynamics. This machine uses 9 bars of pressure, that's a concept they literally don't have words for, to do something they can't even imagine. The gap is almost infinite.
And this is our guy, our hero, a local merchant, just bone-tired from his week, living his whole life in that small beer haze. He's curious. He's probably a little scared, but he picks up the tiny cup this strange metal god offers him, and he takes a sip. In that single moment, his entire reality just shatters.
For a man whose strongest drink has been lukewarm ale, this isn't just a beverage. It's a sensory nuclear bomb. It's a shock to his system so intense that his brain has no framework for it. The bitterness, the heat, the sheer chemical power coursing through his veins, it's a total sensory overload.
So think about what's happening inside his head. His heart is hammering. That lifelong fog in his brain just evaporates. It's replaced by a kind of focus, a clarity he has never, ever known. For the first time in his life, he's not sleepy at noon. He doesn't think, wow, what a strong drink. He thinks he's had a religious experience. He believes he has been touched, literally by a god of productivity.
And this brings us to Section 2, the age of acceleration. Because, our merchant's divine encounter, it doesn't stay a secret for long. Word starts to spread, and this very personal miracle is about to go viral, potentially kicking London's progress ahead by a couple of centuries.
Pretty soon, the stories are all over the city. About the merchant who now works with the energy of 10 men. People start showing up at the tavern, and they're not lining up for a drink. They're on a pilgrimage. They're coming for the magic. They all want a taste of that same miracle, that same impossible focus.
And just imagine the ripple effect. Our merchant, who's now basically the high priest of this new caffeine cult, serves a cup to a struggling playwright named William Shakespeare. Suddenly, his writer's block is gone. He's churning out 5 plays a week. Blacksmiths, laborers, other merchants, they all come for their daily miracle. The city's entire workforce transforms from this sluggish, hazy group into a humming engine of productivity. The Industrial Revolution just got a 200-year head start.
And this is the real core of the glitch, right? Caffeine lets an entire society break free from the natural, biological rhythm of the day. It lets you steal hours. It creates productive time out of thin air, and that fundamentally changes the pace of human history.
And now for Section 3, The Great Caffeine Crash. Because, well, you knew this was coming, didn't you? A miracle this good is always too good to be true. This incredible accelerated age is built on a foundation of sand, and the tide is about to come in.
The problem is this idea of a one-flight god. The machine is all-powerful, a true miracle worker, but it's completely dependent on an infrastructure, a supply chain, a power grid that is centuries away from existing. It's a god that can perform one amazing trick, and that's it. The show's over.
Let's break down the 3 ticking time bombs that our merchant is starting to notice. First, the beans. London in 1590 doesn't exactly have trade routes to Ethiopia. He's watching that single bag of coffee beans get lighter every day, with this dawning horror that when it's gone forever. Second, the power. The machine hums with this inner life, but it needs a 220-volt outlet. The 16th century power grid is a candle. And finally, the biological time bomb. An entire neighborhood is now physically addicted to a substance that is about to completely disappear.
And this is where it gets genuinely terrifying, especially for our merchant, who's now the center of this whole caffeinated world. We're not talking about a few people having a bad headache. We're talking citywide panic. An entire population whose productivity, whose livelihood is built on this miracle suddenly has it ripped away. The withdrawal would be so violent, the social order itself could just shatter.
Okay, Section 4. A myth is born. So after the incredible boom and the devastating crash, what's left? What happens to the memory of an event that, logically, should never have happened in the first place?
Well, the facts would just dissolve. They'd curdle into folklore. Our merchant and the others who were there, they'd tell their children these wild stories about a strange iron ghost that lived in the tavern, a ghost that breathed hot steam and could give a normal man the energy of a giant. It would become nothing more than a local legend.
And you can literally watch the truth decay into myth over time. In 1590, it's a real event. By 1650, 60 years later, it's just a spooky story people tell their kids. And then hundreds of years later, in 2024, some archaeologists dig up this baffling chrome artifact under an old London pub, with no possible way to explain what it is or how it got there.
And at the end of the day, the machine itself would just rot. It's an alien object in a world that can't feed it, can't power it, and certainly can't fix it. You just can't make replacement parts for a La Marzocco with a hammer and wishful thinking. It's a perfect example of how technology is nothing without the ecosystem that supports it.
So that's the story of the espresso glitch. It's a wild ride, right? But it does leave us with a really fun question. If you got sent back in time, what's the one modern food you'd bring to convince everyone you were a powerful wizard? A packet of Pop Rocks? A can of Red Bull? Let me know what you think.